Have you ever felt like the more you work on yourself, the more work there is to do? Like personal growth has become another thing that you're hustling for. Today, we are exploring why that happens and how your self improvement journey can get hijacked by well meaning manager parts and how to reclaim it from a place of empowerment. Hi, I'm Andrea Tessier, Master Life Coach and IFS practitioner. I help conscious leaders like you step into what I call liberated leadership by strengthening your connection to self, that calm, wise core within. And if you're as obsessed with growth as I am, you'll want to make sure it's coming from an empowered place. So hit that subscribe button. You know, I have been called to growth many times throughout my life. In my late 20s, I felt this undeniable pull towards something deeper, something beyond the daily grind. And so I packed my bags and went to an ashram. I thought, this is it. This is where I'll find the peace and clarity I have been longing for. I soaked in meditation, spirituality, silence, and honestly, I was doing something meaningful for my soul. But life doesn't stop lifing, and it didn't stop calling me to grow. In my 30s, my focus shifted completely. I poured myself into health and fitness. I was all in, running half marathons, CrossFit 5 days a week. I'll be honest, probably more like 6. Clean eating, tracking macros, paleo diet, chasing PRs. I was stronger, fitter, disciplined, and it gave me a sense of control and power. And I thought, yes, this is who I am meant to be. I finally fit in. I am healthy. I am dedicated. I am unstoppable. And then life happens. In my mid-30s, I was blindsided by the end of a relationship that shook me to my core. And it was the kind of heartbreak that makes you question everything. And that's when it hit me. Oh, this isn't just about my external circumstances, my body, my routines, my achievements. It's about what's happening inside. And for the first time, that realization felt empowering. Like I unlocked a new level of potential growth. And I dove headfirst into personal development, reading all the books, signing up for workshops, hiring coaches, journaling like my life depended on it. And for a while, I felt really great. Like I was finally doing the work. I was finally getting somewhere. And I was. But somewhere along the way, that growth turned into another checklist. Meditation? Check. Gratitude journal? Check. Inner child work? Check, check, check. Next course, next coach, next fix. It was like I was collecting gold stars for my healing. There was always something more to do. And there was this part of me inside that was leading, thinking if I just get this right, if I can just heal the right way, if I can stay in self-energy all the time or figure out the perfect mindset, then I'll finally feel enough. Then I'll be safe from disappointment, heartbreak, failure. But here's what I didn't realize at the time. It wasn't growth that was the problem. It was the urgency behind it. It was the voice that whispered, "You're not there yet. You're still not enough. Do more." What was happening beneath the surface of those manager parts, right? Think of manager parts as the overachievers, the perfectionists, the self-improvement hustlers. They're the parts of you that say, okay, let's get this together. Let's make a plan. Let's control this. They love structure. They love checklists. They love routines. They thrive on having a strategy or fixing whatever is getting in the way of you being your best self. Their intention? It's actually really good. They're trying to keep you safe. They believe that if you stay on track, if you achieve enough, if you learn enough, if you improve enough, you'll be protected from the pain, rejection, or failure. But here's the kicker. Underneath that hustle is often a deeper belief whispering in the background. I'm not enough yet. And it's sneaky because it doesn't always show up as the obvious self-doubt, right? Sometimes it sounds like relentless motivation. If I just work harder, if I just achieve more, if I just get this right, one more pull-up, one more deadlift, 10 more pounds, right? Then I'll feel secure. Then I'll be worthy. Then I'll finally be enough. But what these manager parts are really protecting you from, it's not failure itself. It's the feelings underneath the failure, right? Feelings we don't always want to face or believe that exist, that we don't want to admit to ourselves. And sometimes they're guarding unacknowledged emotions, sadness that hasn't been processed, loneliness that feels too vulnerable to sit with, fear of disappointment, fear of not being seen or loved as we are. And here's the thing. Chasing the next goal, signing up for the next course, hustling for self-improvement is often easier than pausing long enough in that discomfort to feel what's beneath the surface. It's not that the growth journey is wrong. It's that it's being fueled by fear rather than freedom. So I want to be really clear here. Manager parts are not the problem. They are not the enemy. In fact, they've been working incredibly hard on your behalf for a long time. And I hope they hear me now how much I appreciate them. Appreciate mine and I appreciate yours. They're like that overzealous friend who's just trying to help but doesn't realize they're actually making things more stressful. The issue isn't that they exist. It's when they're running the show without the supportive self-energy. When these parts are in charge without guidance from your calm, centered core, growth stops feeling expansive and starts feeling like a burden. Instead of growth feeling like liberation, it feels like another job, another thing you're not doing right enough, another way to prove your worth. Oof, right? And that's why it's so important to recognize when a manager part is driving, not to push it away, but to pause and get curious and ask, what's underneath this? What's this part trying to protect me from? And if you're curious to dive deeper into the dynamics of manager parts and how they interact with other parts of the system like firefighters, check out my video, Firefighters versus Managers. I break down exactly how these parts operate and what they're trying to do for you. But let's be clear here. I love growth. It's not just one of my top 3 values. It's part of who I am. Personal growth is one of the most beautiful, liberating journeys we can embark on. It's how we evolve. It's how we expand. It's how we step into the fullest expression of ourselves. It's how we all become more conscious as a collective. It's how we become more free. Growth is not the issue. The problem is how we approach it. When growth is led by self-energy, it's expansive, it's rooted in curiosity and possibility. But when it's driven by fear or a belief that we're not enough, it becomes another form of self-punishment, another box to check, another measure of whether we are good enough yet. So the goal isn't to stop growing. The goal is to grow from a place of wholeness, not from a place of fixing yourself. So here's the real magic of this work. The more we heal, the more clarity we have. Healing doesn't mean getting rid of your manager parts or silencing your inner critic. It means being able to recognize when they've stepped into the driver's seat so that you can consciously choose who's steering. So think of it like this. Imagine you're on a road trip with a bestie. Your manager parts are like the overly cautious friend who's constantly checking the GPS, double checking the directions, and worried about missing a turn. They're trying to help, but they're the one navigating, and the trip feels tense and rigid and no fun. When you're connected to self-energy, it's like having a calm, confident driver behind the wheel. Your manager parts can still be there. They can offer directions. They can choose what song is on the radio. They can point out potential detours, but they're not gripping the steering wheel with white-knuckled fear. You get to choose. Is this a route I actually want to take, or am I just following it because I feel like I have to? So let's bring this to life with a simple example. Hiring a coach or a therapist or signing up for a course. If a manager is in charge, the decision might sound like, I need to take this course because I'm falling behind. I'm not doing enough. This will be the thing that unlocks everything for me. What if I miss out on something important, or all of my friends are doing it? Everyone else seems to have it figured out, and I'm the only one who doesn't. That's growth driven by fear, by the belief that somehow you are lacking. But when self is leading, the same decision feels entirely different. It's like, this course feels entirely aligned with where I am headed. It excites me. I just know there is something here for me. I'm already enough, but this will help me expand in ways that light me up. See the difference? The action is the same, taking the course, but the energy behind it is worlds apart. So growth isn't about hustling for your worth. It's about expanding because you deserve to live your fullest vision. It's about saying, I'm worthy now, and I'm excited to keep unfolding into even more of who I am. So again, if manager parts aren't the problem, how do we work with them instead of against them? The answer isn't to get rid of them. It's to rebalance the system with self-energy. This is where your growth becomes truly empowering, not exhausting. Think of self-energy as that calm, wise, compassionate leader within. It's not here to override or silence your manager parts. It's here to support them, to help them relax, and to remind them, hey, you don't have to carry this all alone. So I want to offer 3 key practices to help rebalance your manager parts. 1, pause and notice the urgency. The first step is simple but powerful. Just notice. When you feel that rush of urgency, I have to sign up for this course right now, or I need to fix this part of me ASAP, or I need to lose 10 pounds by Friday. Pause. Take a breath. That urgency is a clue you are blended with a manager part. P.S. Urgency is always a clue that a manager part is driving the bus. So ask yourself, what's driving this feeling? Is this coming from a grounded, empowered place, or is it fueled by fear, perfectionism, or a belief that something is wrong with me? The goal isn't to judge yourself for that feeling of urgency. It's to bring awareness to it, because once you see it, you're no longer unconsciously driven by it. You have space. You have choice. 2, Get curious. What's underneath that? After you've taken that powerful pause, the next step is to get curious. Imagine sitting down with that part of you that's hustling or urgent, not to scold it, but or change it, but to understand. Asking gentle questions like, what are you afraid will happen if I don't keep pushing? Or what's the worst case scenario you're trying to prevent here? Often you'll find that underneath that striving is something very tender, a fear of being left behind, a sadness that hasn't been acknowledged, or even a deep longing to feel seen and valued, like you matter. And here's the beautiful thing. When you meet these parts with curiosity instead of criticism, they begin to soften. They realize they don't have to carry the weight alone. And one of my favorite realizations is to go deeper, we must soften first. And 3, now comes the most transformative part, leading with self-energy. Instead of letting urgency or fear dictate your next move, ask, what would this look like if it came from love and ease and trust? For example, we'll go back to that, you're considering taking a course. Instead of signing up for it because you feel behind or broken, you chose it because it genuinely excites and expands you. Instead of meditating because you're supposed to, you meditate because it nourishes you. Instead of hiring a coach because they're going to fix everything, you do it because you're ready to unlock your next level of growth from a really empowered place. It's not about doing less. It's about doing differently. Growth from self-energy feels spacious, not pressured. It feels like an invitation, not an obligation. So I really want to emphasize this. You do not have to be in perfect alignment all of the time. You are human. We will always have parts that get anxious or perfectionistic or urgent. That's normal. The magic isn't in never feeling that way. The magic is in noticing, pausing, and choosing to respond from self instead of reacting from fear. Because growth doesn't have to be a hustle. It can be an act of liberation. If any of this has resonated today, I would love to hear from you in the comments below. And I want to leave you with this final reminder. Personal growth isn't about fixing yourself. It's about expanding into your fullest potential. Your manager parts are not bad. They need you. They need your support. And when you lead from that essence of self, growth feels like freedom, not a hustle. Have you ever noticed a part of you turning growth into a checklist? What's helped you come back? Let me know in the comments. I would love to hear. And if this resonated, please like the video and subscribe for weekly wisdom on leading yourself powerfully. See you next time.